right, y'all, get ready for another edition of Newz and Trendz with your host, Dave and Lynn.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Newz and Trendz with Dave and Len. This is one of your hosts, David Coker. You know me from Dave Mark Inc. I am a event planner. I'm just a man about town. You can call me that. So I'm sitting here with my partner, Mr. Leonard Young. Hey, Len.
Hey, yep. This is Leonard Young, CEO of National Black Guide, Black Media Specialist, and all-around good guy. Dave, how you doing?
All right, man. All right. Made it through the weekend. We just got through a wonderful day yesterday, celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King. And matter of fact, since I just said that, we're going to start right there with that particular subject as far as MLK Day. Did you do anything special for MLK Day yourself?
Actually I didn't. Normally, or at least my goal is, so, of course, the Martin Luther Day King of Service. So normally, I'll look for, some type of volunteering event, especially if I have the kids, because, I think it's important for these kids who are always asking for stuff to recognize the value of giving back as well.
Yeah, it's funny that you say about the kids, because when you have kids of a certain age, and you do have kids of a certain age, my kids
That's
are
older,
older.
right?
Yeah. And my kids are older, so they all know who Martin Luther King is and what his contributions were, and so forth and so forth. But you got to worry about these younger kids who, with the way learning is now, teaching and all of that stuff, and looking into what's going on with the schools and how much Black history is really being taught, or not just Black history, how much history is really being taught anymore.
Exactly.
So, you always have to worry about wanting to make sure that these kids are totally aware of who Martin Luther King was and what he meant to.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's funny, I was listening to this Black history thing today, and one of the things it was talking about was, a lot of times when we think about Martin Luther King, or let's say kids of this day, we always hear nonviolent, peaceful protests, but it's like, when I think about it, Martin Luther King was kind of gangster too. And the reason why I say this is because for anybody to put, even though he was about peace and nonviolent, but every day he was putting his life on the line, knowing what was happening. Like, you remember 2 weeks ago, we talked about Birmingham, which was Birmingham, Alabama. Right. We know just as far as the race riots in all the cities, the discrimination, the hanging and killing of innocent Black men. And even though he was for peace, he was still a brave soldier of the cause, because he'd go out there every day knowing what was likely to happen. I think we all know he got multiple death threats. Like, many people did not like him. Of course, now everybody loves him, but so, I definitely agree. I think that the people of this time don't recognize the impact he had.
Well, I don't know how many of us, in thinking about everything you just said, how many of us could have wore the armor that he wore back then now, because he had to go through so much. And, when he was, out there doing the nonviolent thing, people were attacking him with violence, so,
exactly.
And, a lot of us nowadays, man, we ain't gonna stand there and get slapped by somebody.
Right. Or sprayed with water hoses.
Or sprayed with water hoses, knocked to the ground, called out of your name.
Exactly.
Look, nowadays, it don't take any, you call somebody out of their name these days, you're gonna get hit, or whatever
definitely.
case. Yeah, so so just think about all that he had to endure. And not just him, because he was the leader of the movement, but the people that supported him. You know, we just lost Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier was marching along right with him during that time.
Yeah.
So when you think about all these great leaders and a guy like him leading them, um, when they have thank God we have a day to show in retrospect to him. And is a day really enough? I mean, come on now,
Yeah, probably not.
No, a day is not really enough.
Right.
But
And I was about to say, probably the
go
only
ahead.
benefit is, I feel like this is motivation leading into Black History Month as well. So
Yes, yeah, well, yeah, that is true because of course, next month everyone should be aware of is Black History Month, and of course, this is always the precursor to it. So we have to make sure that we stay focused on what the man's dream was, how much of it we really have accomplished of it at this point, and then also to see the programs and so forth. I watched a lot of TV yesterday, and there was tons and tons of programs done in reference to that. Even I was watching a couple of college basketball games where I know one of the it was the girls basketball game, and one of the games was St. Joe's, and who was St. Joe's playing? St. Joe's was playing another school, but both of these teams were predominantly white teams, but they did a whole program on Martin Luther King, and
oh wow. Now was
yeah,
this during halftime?
no, this was before the game. Before the game, it was it was it was very touching to see the program that they did. They did, and they played Lift Every Voice and sing and everything. So I was like,
Hold
oh,
on,
okay.
who played it and who sang it?
Well, I wasn't sure who sang it. They
Okay,
played the song.
gotcha.
You heard it in the background.
Right.
But they did that, and then they did the national anthem after that. So
Okay.
yeah, but it was, I forgot, it was St. Joe's. I can't remember the other team, but it was St. Joe's and Princeton. That's who it was.
Okay.
So, but it was just interesting to see that happening. So, but with all of that being said, and just talking about Martin Luther King and some of the progress that we've made in America nowadays, I saw, and I don't know if you saw this recently, speaking of some of the advancements for Black people, did you see that they decided to make a new quarter with Maya Angelou on it?
I did. And I was actually surprised by that because I feel like last I heard, I knew about Harriet Tubman that was
Right.
supposed to be on one of the bills, and that kind of faded. And then last week I saw Maya Angelou, and I was like, that's dope. Definitely didn't see it coming. I wasn't aware of that, but
Right.
I think it's a great honor and a step in the right direction.
Yes, it's a great honor, and see, people got to also understand this is another civil rights activist who was very involved in the civil rights movement, and Maya Angelou affected everyone in every kind of way, and for her to be honored this way, I think it's a great honor, and also something else that shows that what a lot of the people that did before us, like Martin Luther King, like a Maya Angelou, like a Sidney Poitier, those people's efforts were not in vain, and that they were recognized in a way that they should be. And it's so great to know that they were able to see her brilliance, and just to see that this woman deserves an honor like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I'm curious how what the haters will do when they start getting some of those when they start getting some of those
But look,
quarters and
look, look,
change.
look, you own a trailer park in Alabama. Will you be able to spend them coins down there?
I mean, well, hold on. Well, here, I'll put it like this: we will collect all the coins that are owed to us.
No, well, I'm sure you'll get a lot of those.
Yeah, right. What you said, they'll unload them on us.
Yeah,
Okay, there y'all
yeah.
go.
I'm sure that you'll probably get a few of those, but that's good that they're in circulation for that reason, because we want to make sure that we are able to spend those coins. And that's another figure, going back to the children again. That's another figure that we need to make sure that the children
Yeah,
stay in
definitely.
tune with, in touch with. The young lady that did the poem for the last inauguration. I always forget her name. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I know you talk about.
You know what I'm talking about? She talked about how Maya Angelou was one of her biggest influences because of everything that she wrote and everything, and that's what made her want to be a poet.
Yep,
You know,
Amanda Gorman.
That's Amanda Gorman.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Matter of fact, she just did a brand new poem that's getting a lot of praise. And then they're saying that she's supposed to be doing a whole album.
Yep, I did hear that.
Yeah. So good for her. And that's gonna be like, she could be the next Maya Angelou for the people coming up.
No, I mean, to be honest, and I'm not in the poetry world, but she probably is that next great, poet. Now,
Yeah.
whether she's as great of a community activist and a supporter of the community, that will, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But Dave, one of the questions I did have, and I looked for it, I could not find it. You may know. For Maya Angelou on the quarter, she's on the back of the quarter, correct?
Right.
Okay. And the front of the quarter is still the same, or is that also her image?
Matter of fact, if you take a look, I don't know if you saw that link that I sent to you earlier. There's a picture of the quarter on there.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see how they have it on there.
Gotcha. Okay.
But anyone that's interested, you can just Google, Maya Angelou and being on the quarter, and there's a picture of the quarter and whatever, and talks about her history, being, all the awards that she won and all of this kind of stuff. That story was a very good story talking about it. And she, I can't think of anybody, Harriet Tubman, being on the dollar, it was the dollar bill, right? Or $10. It was the $10 bill.
Okay. I know it was one of them. I forget which one it was.
It was $10 bill. And of course, Harriet Tubman definitely, should be somebody that should, of course, it should be. I'd rather see her on the $100 bill.
Right. On the Benjamins. Put it on the Benjamins.
Yeah. We could call them the Harriets.
Yeah.
Can I get a couple of Harriets, please? Can I get a couple of Harriets? That's
right.
What we should call them.
Or Dave, instead of a dub, they call it a tub.
Yeah, well,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying, man. Because these are the people. When we look at where our history is, these are the people that we have to pay attention to, and definitely, it's not too late to give them their flowers, and apparently that's what they're doing. They're giving them their flowers.
And on the flip side, a lot of these historical figures that we consider prominent are coming down now that we're learning about them, being slave traders and, different things. So just like a lot of the Confederate statues and, how I believe now we're hearing that George Washington and Thomas Jefferson owned slaves. And a lot of those historical white people that, throughout history their accolades are being diminished as more and more facts come out.
Yeah, and actually, it's it's going to mess up the history books. It's going to mess up everything that we've learned over the years. But then it's also giving us the truth, because right now, believe it or not, life right now is all about truth. Social media has make it hard for you to. It makes it easy for you to be somebody that you're not normally, but it also makes it harder for you to lie.
Yeah, it does.
And that's where we are, because we're finding out the truth about a lot of these people that we have statues and buildings, all kinds of things, and they're going around taking the names off of these buildings.
They are stripping them
and taking the statues down. And I never forget when they took that Columbus statue down in Wilmington. There was a Columbus statue, and a friend of mine was telling me that they were they kept riding past that area, and I kept saying, "What's missing up here?" You know, they couldn't figure it out. And I said, "It's probably that statue." And they started laughing. They said, "That's what it is.
Wow.
It's a statue." You know, so. But anyway, well, let's just applaud the people for finally recognizing people like Maya Angelou and also Harriet Tubman, and hopefully there'll be more, because our history is full of these type of people. So maybe Malcolm will get one day.
Ooh, well, you know, in New York there's a Malcolm X College.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Or in fact, I'm sorry, maybe it's Chicago. It's somewhere.
But they have a museum too, a Malcolm X museum too.
Do they? Okay.
Yes. So, all right. So, moving on to our next subject, kind of going in the opposite direction of where we were just talking about. But I just wanted to bring this up right now. And I'm a quasi tennis fan. I watch a lot of the matches when they're on, and especially when our folks are playing. You know what I mean? So because we have some of the top players in the world. Unfortunately, Serena's not playing this in the right now, but she'll be back. But the Australian Open is going on right now. The top player on the men's side is Novak Djokovic. For those who are not familiar with him, great tennis player. I love watching him play. I do watch him when he's on, whatever. He's an intense guy, very good at what he does. He recently was not, he tried to register for the Australian Open, but was denied because of his vaccination status. He is not vaccinated. He is one of these people who do not believe in doing the vaccination.
Anti-vaxxer.
He's an anti-vaxxer, and he's made it clear, Djokovic could be sort of a malcontent at times, or whatever the case may be. When you're the number one player in the world, it's just like the whole Aaron Rodgers. You heard us talk about Aaron Rodgers in the past. He's sort of in that same vein. He's cocky about the whole thing or whatever. He really felt that he could play in this tournament and not be vaccinated when it was a requirement to be vaccinated to be in this tournament. And he actually filed 2 appeals trying to get in the tournament, and showed up in Australia to play without being told that he could play. Okay.
So I guess he just figured, I know you told me no, but I'm going to try it at the door anyway.
Right. I'm the number one player in the world. Okay. People are coming to the tournament because I'm playing in it. I mean, think about it. He has to be thinking that. Okay. You're going to turn me away when I'm bringing people to the tournament to watch the tournament? Now, of course, do I need to say he is not black?
Right.
So that automatically says I have privileged status, that I can show up anyway, even though I've been told not to come until we get the appeal process completed. He shows up, think he's going to play. They deported him, told him, you have to leave. And the French Open is the next tournament that's coming up. He's already said that he plans to play in that. And they're already saying, not if you're not vaccinated, you don't even show up. They're already saying this because of what's happening in Australia, right?
Right.
Him.
So I wonder if his conviction is as long as the money that he's probably going to start missing from not appearing in these tournaments.
Well, one of the reasons I brought that up, and I'm glad that you said that, because when you look at a guy like Kyrie Irving, we talked about him before. He's also another anti-vaxxer for different reasons. I think his is more so he's Muslim and he's religious, and he didn't want to do it because of that. But this guy has lost a ton of money this year because of his status. he wasn't playing basketball for a while, but he is back playing now. But he's only allowed to play games that are not at home. He's only allowed to play away games because at home in New York, he's not allowed in the building because he's not vaccinated.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he has already lost a ton of money. Now, when you talk to him, there was a conversation that he had recently where he's kind of softening his stance a little bit about the vaccination, and everybody said, "Is that because of the money that he's missing?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
because well, I feel like money doesn't. I mean, I understand everyone has their conviction, and not to say everybody has a price, but after losing out on a certain amount of money, I'm sure people's perceptions start to change as well. And it just kind of made me think too. I saw a report yesterday saying that, and it's funny because they did not go into any details at all, but Letitia Wright is back with the cast allegedly for Black Panther, and it has resumed filming. Now, it never said she got vaccinated, which I was expecting for it to say. It never said she got vaccinated, but it just said that the filming with her is going on as scheduled. So that'll be interesting to find out those details as well.
Think about it though. Letitia Wright is probably being told by a bunch of people, you are getting ready to do career suicide. Because if you allow yourself not to be a part of this movie and mess up your status with Marvel Nation or the Marvel Universe.
Oh yeah, she's gonna be out.
You think you're actually going to get another role anywhere again, a major role? Like I did see she shows up in this movie, but she's not the star, but she's like a bit player in this one movie. Death on the Nile. I think she's in that movie.
Is that a newer movie or older movie?
Yeah, a remake, of the old movies. So, but she can not be a part of this movie, if you know what I mean. She has to, and you're talking about suicide. Kyrie Irving makes over $30 million a year. Well, it's not even a whole year, 6 months playing basketball. Think about that. Okay. Djokovic is one of the highest paid athletes in the world. Okay. You cannot tell me now. You might have a little bit of money for a little bit. Okay. Your money now. The only way you can not miss this money is you're a miser. You say, and you keeping track of every penny you spend. Okay. And you're not spending no money. But that's a lot of money to be missing out on. Okay. I just, so Mr. Djokovic, I hope it's worth it. That's all I got to say. And see you whenever you get back on the court, whatever. I'm a fan. Like I said, I like tennis, and the guy is a beast on the court. But speaking of sports, I'm the sports tip. I know. How much football did you watch this weekend, Leonard? Here we go, y'all. Here we go. Let's see.
Yep. So I was out of town all weekend, so I didn't watch any TV.
Yeah.
So the only thing I did see, I saw the Dallas and San Francisco part of that game where Dallas was getting whooped.
Yeah, well, I was so happy to see it. I told you I'm not a Dallas fan.
Right.
Of course happy to see that. So it cost me some money though, because I bet on Dallas to win the game because they were supposed to win the game, but they cost me some money, and that's why I can't stand them. So even when I try to be nice about it, they still cost me.
Okay.
So
yeah.
But and of course the Eagles went down in the playoffs. But they went down against the defending champions, Mr. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. So then nobody was expecting them to win that game, and they played that way. It was not nice. It was an ugly game. So next week, matter of fact, the Rams have to travel down to Tampa Bay to play play Tom Brady and them, and that should be interesting to see how that game goes because they beat up on Arizona last night. Pittsburgh lost the other day, and their quarterback probably played this last game after 18 seasons, I think, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Ben Roethlisberger. So he had a great career. Played in a couple Super Bowls. He played in 3 Super Bowls, 1, 2. So my hat's off to him as far as his career is concerned. I'm sure we've probably seen the last of him. So, but the playoffs should be getting interested next week. So keep watching. Maybe I can win some money next week now that Dallas is going. I can stop betting with my heart now.
Yeah.
So,
I'm about to say you gotta use your head.
yeah, now it's all about the head and trying to figure out who's going to win these games next week because the real men are standing now. So but anyway, now that's all I got. By the way, guys, you're listening to Newz and Trendz with Dave and Lynn. If you have any comments, you can always feel free to put them out there. We always love reading your comments. So I'm just letting you know. Please feel free to put it out there. You can find us on all of the social media pages now. We out there, y'all. We out there. And check out our Facebook page when you get a chance, okay? And follow us. Make sure you follow us. Don't just listen to us, follow us. We want to make sure that you people are definitely following us because we love getting the feedback that we've gotten so far. Okay? Len, what you got?
Yeah, yep. So Dave, for our last story that we'll talk about, this was a story that actually happened about a week ago. So the Virginia Beach Police Department, there was a story that came out saying the Virginia Beach Police used forged DNA reports to get confessions from potential suspects and alleged victims and all that. And so I was reading it, and basically what it was saying is that when they were trying to get guilty confessions and work out plea deals and interrogate witnesses and or potential suspects, they would lie and say that they had confirmed DNA that would pretty much prove somebody guilty, and that's how they would get additional confessions in a lot of the cases. And of course it caused an uproar because naturally you would think that, all right, so any case with that was confirmed to have used fake DNA evidence during interrogations should automatically get thrown out. The other point it makes me think about is, okay, so these are the instances that we have caught, but there's probably, for everyone they caught, there's probably another 4 that kind of slipped under the radar. And then the last thing I'm going to leave right here from my part is, so Dave, you remember a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about Pharrell hosting the Something in the Water concert in Virginia Beach. So he held it 1 year. He was probably planning to hold it this year, but due to, I believe, his cousin being killed and just the type of investigation that the Virginia Beach Police conducted, he basically said he had no faith in them. He said Virginia Beach government, specifically the police department, was a toxic atmosphere. So, this is not the first time we're hearing about this. The articles out there, and I know you and I spoke briefly about it, and I was like, well, Dave, like how would you handle it? Or, how do you feel about the situation?
Wow. I think it's scary. It's funny when you got people like Pharrell coming forward and talking like that, because I did watch that competition show that you're talking about.
Oh yeah, the musical one.
Yeah,
well, no. So I'm talking about not the musical one.
Oh no, you're talking about the other one. Okay.
Yeah, he actually had an outdoor concert. Yes.
Yeah. They had a little documentary about that too. There was talk about that as well. So I did see that too. But yeah, nowadays there's so much pressure. I guess the cops and it's kind of hard to kind of be on one side of the fence with this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because the police right now, and I'm going to say this to anyone that might be listening that may be in law enforcement, I'm going to say you guys are doing an excellent job as far as law enforcement is concerned. Of course, with any job, you're going to have situations that are not always going to be favorable to you. And, where you're going to have a few bad eggs that's going to cause some problems and so forth and so forth. We watch movies, we watch TV shows every day that's showing corruption with the police forces and so forth, and how they're trying to, solve cases on a quicker basis and so forth and so forth. And they get reckless and they do things like what we're talking about here, where they are using people's DNAs to try to, to do these things to try to hurry up and normally as Black people they're putting away, I watched something yesterday just on this basis. I was at one of the shopping centers yesterday. I hadn't even gotten out of my car, and I was probably sitting there about 10 or 15 minutes. No, not that long, about 5-10 minutes before I got out of my car because I just hung up from a phone call. No, I was still on the phone call. There was this car parked like adjacent to me. All of a sudden, these 3 county cops pulled up on this car. The car was parked, okay? It was not doing anything. They had 3 people on the inside of the car. Turned out there were 3 young Black men, okay? The cops, these 3 county cops pulled up on this car, surrounded the car, got the kids out of the car, searched them, put handcuffs on them, took them to one of the vehicles, stuck all 3 of them in the vehicle, then searched their car. Okay? This went on. Now I'm sitting there and I'm watching the whole thing, right? And I'm like, okay, I wonder what they did. And why, if they did something illegal, do you think they would just be sitting there?
Right.
Especially if they did something within that shopping center, know.
Okay. Well, how about, I'm sorry, what shopping center was this? Just for my personal reference.
On 273, where the dollar store is.
Okay.
What is it?
Community Plaza.
Community Plaza. Okay, that's where it was. Because I was going into the Bargain World place there. Okay, so and I'm sitting there and I'm watching. So about 20 minutes, they searched the car, and I'm just watching the whole thing because I wanted to see what was going to happen. All of a sudden, I see one of the kids. They go back to the truck. I see one of the kids walk back to the car, the guy who was driving the car, and then they release the other 2 kids. And the cops, you can see the cops talking to him, say, basically saying sorry or something like that. And the kids get in the car and they drive away. Now, these kids are probably between 19, 20, 21 years old. They were young. But it was just the fact that I watched this whole thing happen in front of me. And they didn't take any of them to jail, whatever the case may be. They didn't have anything in their car, apparently, and they let them go. And I'm like, what if, just like you just said, what if somebody planted something in the car?
Yeah.
Okay. It didn't, it didn't have, or it could have been DNA. Say, hey, your DNA was found in reference to this stabbing or this shooting that was in Wilmington or something like that. Okay. It's right now, it's a very hot subject when it comes to stuff like this. And
yeah, I mean, it definitely is. One of the things I always think is, in certain cases, thank God we have camera phones now, because a lot of these incidents, like, so if you had not been there and something happened, it really would have been word versus word. And we know that if it's a police officer's word against the detainee's word, the police officer's word is probably going to win out. With people who videotape a lot of these incidents where we're able to see that, okay, the cops, like you said, like there are a lot of great cops. I have some cops in my family who are, great people. But, it's kind of like, and I won't even say one bad apple ruins a bunch, but for those bad apples that are out there, I'm glad that we have ways that we can kind of monitor. I heard somebody had posted somewhere on social media, and it said that if you see cops approach, young Black men or young Black women take out your phone and record it, because, you know, I think we've seen too many situations where stuff has happened that was not the fault of those, or, excessive use of force, and,
Right.
details like that. So, um, it's probably a good thing you were there.
Yeah, because believe me, I was thinking the same thing, Leonard, because I was wondering when I saw the one kid get back in the car, the kid that was driving, because they let him go one by one. Okay, if they had started doing something, tearing up the car or whatever the case may be, I was ready to film it, because I was, but I purposely sat in my car to watch to see what was going to happen with the kids.
Right.
You know,
Were you in eyesight? So could they see you? Like,
if they turned around, they could see me. Yeah, the
okay.
cops, because I was probably like maybe 10 to 15 feet away, but directly looking at them. I mean, I was
Got
going
you.
to pull right to them. And it was just weird how they pulled up, because these kids, like, where that bargain world is?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, like, right across from there, like when you first pull up in there, right on the left side, there's that wall that's the back of the buildings that, where Rita and all that is. They were parked against that wall, minding their own business.
Were they in the way of traffic? Because,
No.
and I just say, because that wall is not
It's
really
park,
a parking area.
right? It's parking spaces there.
Okay.
So that's that's extra parking spaces. So they were in a parking space facing the wall, minding their own business. I mean, like I said, it's one thing. Now, the only thing I can think of is lest they came from someplace else and somebody followed them over there and called the cops.
Yeah.
That's the
Or
only reason I think that the cops would pull up on them like that.
yeah, and I agree. And one thing that I've seen happen before is people making those calls are just for suspicious black men,
Yeah.
which is very vague, but it does happen. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I won't name who I'm thinking about, but just I mean, to be honest, and I mean, Dave, we know being a black man is challenging,
It
and
definitely is.
and I I think we may have talked about this on a prior episode. Getting pulled over by the police is a little traumatizing as well for most black men.
Yeah. I mean, and it doesn't matter what age you are, just
Yeah,
getting pulled over, because you're busy trying to figure out, okay, what do I do and what do I not do? you
exactly,
know, that's it.
exactly.
You know, I never forget. Um, I don't know. Do you remember Wilson's leather stores that used to be in the mall? Do you remember
Yeah,
those stores?
I do.
The first time I ever saw anything happen where I really started to question my color versus the other people's colors, if you know what I'm saying.
I do.
I was in Wilson's one day, and I was married at the time, and I was getting ready to buy a leather jacket for my ex. And I'm sitting in there and I'm looking at these jackets and whatever. And there's these two young white ladies. They were probably in their 20s. And, Wilson's, most of the really nice stuff they had on a chain. Remember how they used to have it on a chain, and,
Yeah.
They had to unlock it, that they would out, they would come out and unlock it. So I remember saying I wanted this particular jacket. Meanwhile, I'm watching these two girls, and I hear one of the girls said, "You want that one?" And the girl said, "Yes." Girl takes out a pair of wire cutters and cuts the cord, and this jacket disappeared. I mean,
Wow.
disappeared. That was on the rack next to me. Now I see them when they do it. Okay, and they walked out of the store with the jacket.
So
Now,
did you do a
meanwhile,
citizen's arrest on them?
I'm looking at the rack that I'm looking at, and these two people who work there are giving me all the attention, because they're worrying that I'm going to take something, because there was They had the leather purses and stuff there. They're worried about me. And these two young ladies then clipped the cord of the thing and everything and walked out the store with the jacket. So I went on and bought the jacket. And so I said to them, I said to the girl who waited on me, I said, do you guys have cameras in the store? And she looked at me and she said, well, why do you want to know that? I said, if you don't, you should. Because while you were spending all the time trying to make sure that I wasn't doing anything funny, you remember the two young ladies that were just in here, the two white young ladies? And I said, let me re-emphasize. The white young ladies that were in here, they just stole one of your jackets. If you go over to that rack, you'll see that the cord is cut. And she looked at me with the surprised look. And so the guy who was with her goes over to the rack. He said, he's right. And he said, well, sir, why didn't you say something? I said, I'm telling you now.
Yeah, bro. We said better now than
You
never.
were paying more attention to them than you were. If you'd given them the same attention you were giving me, you would have probably stopped it from happening. You know, so but I just never forget that just because it happened, and it was profiling, definitely
Right.
profiling. Yes, yes. And so, but anyway, we got to do better, folks. We got to make sure that we are paying attention. If you like any of the topics that we talked about today, make sure that you put a comment out there. You're listening to Newz and Trendz with Dave and Len. We want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to our program today. Len, you got anything to say?
Yeah. So since this is our first program for the new year, I want to say Happy New Year to everybody. It is our first program, right? I can't remember.
Might go out, Len. I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear? Uh-oh. Does it sound better now?
Uh-oh. Well, anyway, I'm going to say, I don't know. I think my partner lost his mic. But anyway, I'm going to say thank you for listening to us today. Make sure you tune in with us next week and have a wonderful day. Thank you and have a good day.